Hello, this lesson is going to be an introduction to the keyboard. So if you're new to computing, the keyboard is something that you may not be familiar with. This keyboard on screen here is a traditional British keyboard. You can see the top line here of letters. We have a Q, W, E, R, T, Y, and we call this a QWERTY keyboard. Okay, I'm going to type in my document a sentence. My name is Sian Lloyd. Now, in order to type that, I know that I'm going to need a capital M, a capital S and L. So 3 capital letters. To make capital letters, we use the Shift key. Now on the keyboard, it's this one here, and also on the other side here. When you're using the Shift key, you press it and hold it, and keep it held down while you click on one of the letters that you want to capitalize. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down and press the M to give me a capital M. And as I let go and carry on typing, I've let go of the Shift key and carry on typing, you can see everything else comes out in lowercase. Okay, so same thing for the S of Sian and the L for Lloyd. Let me go S of Sian and L for Lloyd there. Okay, now in between my words, and this is standard for writing, typing, whatever, you need spaces. Now to make a space on the keyboard, you use this big long button here across the bottom. This is called your space bar. In order to make your spaces, you just need to dab it once. If you dab it, that will give you a space. If you keep your finger on it and hold it there, it will, well, look, create a load of spaces. You don't want that, you just want the one. Let me move back to it. Oops, missed off part of my letters there. Okay, so my name is Sian Lloyd, and I'm going to put a full stop next. My full stop you will see on the keyboard here. Okay, now if I'd made a mistake and I wanted to change some of what I'd written, we use another key called the backspace. Now you can see here I've got a little line that is flashing. That's called my cursor. This button here is my backspace. Now the backspace will delete everything to the left hand side of the cursor. So if you're a reader that reads from left to right, it will delete backwards like so. Can you see as I'm pressing it, it's taking out my typing. Okay, that's one way of deleting. Let me put that back in for a moment. Okay, another key that you can use for deleting is this one here. This is actually called the delete key. Now on keyboards it can be in slightly different positions, but it usually says delete or DEL for delete. Now that deletes in the opposite way. So let me just click. I'm just moving my cursor before, let's say, before my name Sian Lloyd here, and clicking, and you can see my cursor is now flashing. This time I'm going to use the delete key. This key will delete, as I said, to the right. So if I press it, you can see kind of pulls the text in towards the cursor, if you like. Okay, so either of those, they work in opposite directions. Let me put that back in now, and my full stop. Okay, I showed you a moment ago, I said to get my cursor to, where was it, here, I move my mouse over to this position and then click, and that's where my cursor now is. Wherever the cursor is, that's where your typing happens. Another way of moving your cursor around is using these keys on the keyboard. You have arrow keys. Now the arrow keys are not like the backspace key. The backspace key may show on your keyboard as an arrow, but if you use it, it will delete what's behind it. With the arrow keys, these ones here, if you click on the backwards pointing arrow, your cursor will move backwards. They don't delete anything though, they just allow you to move around the keyboard one character at a time. Okay, right, so I've typed my name is Sian Lloyd. This time I'm going to type it again, but I want everything to be in capitals. Okay, so it's not just one letter. If I wanted to type a whole sentence, it would be pretty tricky for me to hold that shift key down and then press each individual letter. So we have another button to do that job, and that's called the caps lock button, and it's this one here. Now the caps lock is like a switch, so you press it before you start typing a whole sentence or section in capital letters, and then when you're finished you press it again. So unlike the shift key, when you let go of the shift key everything turns back to lowercase. When you press the caps lock key, the lock is the clue there, it keeps everything locked into capitals. So let me start typing. You can see it all comes out in capital letters. Then once I've finished, I mustn't forget to press it again to switch it off. Now on your keyboard you may find that in the top right hand corner somewhere you have a little light that comes on. Every time you press the caps lock button you'll see that little light appear, and when you press it again to switch it off you'll see that little light go out. That is kind of a reminder to you, because it's very easy to click on that caps lock and forget you've got it on, and then if you come to putting passwords in and things like that on a different site, you'll be wondering why your password is always wrong, because your case of your letters isn't correct. Okay, anyway, so that's the cap lock key. So we've learned so far, we've learned the shift key, we've learned the backspace key, we've learned the delete key, we've learned the space bar key, the caps lock key, and the arrows key. So that's a pretty good start. Now one other thing we need to do is look at this key here. This is the enter button. Now the enter button, when you press it, gives us a new line, and each time you press it, it continues to create new lines. Now when you're typing normally, you would, if you wanted to have a line break, start a straight new line, you'd press it once. If you wanted to have a paragraph break, you'd press it 2 times. I'm just going to move my cursor back up here. When you're generally typing, if you wanted to do a long paragraph of text, you wouldn't need to use that button. The computer is clever enough to know that as you're typing, as you get to the end of a line, to here, somewhere along here where you set a margin, it will automatically run on to the next line in the paragraph. It doesn't, you don't need to hit this button each time. You only need to hit this button if you want to create a paragraph break, or if you're perhaps making a list of items, you'd want to press it after each list, or if for some reason you are finishing a sentence somewhere in the middle of a line and you want to start a fresh line. Okay, so that's the paragraph break, or the enter button here. The other thing I need to tell you is about the shift key. Going back to the shift key again, we don't just use it for capital letters. If you have a little look on your keyboard, you'll see at the top where your numbers are. The numbers on this keyboard don't actually show it, but on your own keyboard, if you look at the numbers, you'll see that they have a number at the bottom, and above them they have some sort of punctuation or other mark. For instance, on the number 1, above it we have an exclamation mark. Number 2 we have speech marks. The shift key enables you to access those exclamation marks and speech marks, etc. You hold it down, so I'm going to hold my shift key down and press number 1. You see I get an exclamation mark. If I hold my shift key down and press number 2, I get speech marks. If I hold my shift key down and press number 3, I get a pound sign, etc. Okay, so that shift key is also used to reach the top line of characters on keys that have more than one row on them. Okay, excellent. So next lesson we'll have a little look at formatting text. Thank you.